Some ideas sound so true, we stop questioning them. They slip into textbooks, conversations, even how we talk to ourselves. But what if a lot of what we think we know about psychology isn't true at all? And they're not just small misunderstandings. They shape how we learn, love, and define who we are. So as we go through these, stay curious. Some of what you've believed for years might start to feel different. The kind that makes you go, wait, what if I've had this wrong the whole time? In this video, we're uncovering 10 popular myths about the mind, the kind that sound scientific, but fall apart once you look closer. Let's see which of our truths can actually hold up. Before we start, a quick note on what myth means here. Not a tale with dragons, but a popular belief about the mind that sounds convincing, spreads easily, yet lacks solid scientific proof. In short, it feels true, but isn't backed by evidence. Myth number 1. We only use 10% of our brain. The 10% myth has been around for over a century, possibly fueled by early neuroscience misinterpretations and pop psychology. It's catchy, cinematic, but totally wrong. Modern brain imaging, like fMRI, shows that we use virtually every part of our brain, even when resting or doing simple tasks. Different regions light up depending on what we're doing. Thinking, moving, daydreaming, even sleeping. The idea that 90% of your brain sits idle? It's comforting. It makes us feel like there's untapped potential waiting to be unlocked. But the truth is, your brain's already working full-time. Its efficiency might vary, but its involvement doesn't. So instead of wondering what you could do with the other 90%, maybe focus on understanding how the 100% already functions. Because potential isn't about unused parts, it's about how you train the ones you've got. But if we can misunderstand so often, why are we so sure we can spot the truth? Myth number 2. Lie detector tests are accurate. Hollywood loves this one. The sweating suspect, the beeping machine, the dramatic reveal. But in real life, polygraphs don't actually detect lies. They measure physiological responses, heart rate, blood pressure, arousal stress, fear, excitement, but not truth per se. Error rates can be very high. People may fail the test because of nerves, poor calibration, or unrelated factors. So the belief a polygraph can tell you if someone's lying, it's a myth. That has implications. Legal, interpersonal, trusting processes. Don't lean on that belief without caveat. The assumption is, if you're lying, you'll show signs of stress. But stress isn't exclusive to liars. Innocent people get anxious too, and practiced liars can stay calm. That's why the American Psychological Association says there's no reliable evidence polygraphs can accurately detect deception. Courts rarely accept them because they produce both false positives and false negatives. The truth isn't something a machine can read from your pulse. It's messier, layered, deeply human, and often, even, we struggle to tell when we're lying to ourselves. Maybe that's what makes the brain so intriguing, endlessly fascinating, yet never fully understood. Myth number 3. You're either left-brained or right-brained. You've heard it before. Left-brained people are logical. Right-brained people are creative. It sounds neat, balanced, almost poetic. But neuroscience doesn't support it. Both hemispheres are active in nearly everything we do. Language, logic, art, and emotion rely on interconnected neural networks, not isolated sides. Sure, some processes are lateralized, like language leaning left, spatial awareness leaning right, but the myth exaggerates it into a personality divide. The brain works more like a symphony than a seesaw. Each part adds a note, but the beauty comes from their harmony. And speaking of harmony, let's look at one of the most romanticized myths out there. Myth number 4. Opposites attract. It's a fun trope, the rebel and the rule follower, the artist and the scientist. But real research paints a different picture. Studies consistently show that similarity, not difference, predicts long-term relationship success. Shared values, interests, and emotional styles build connection. Opposites might spark attraction because they bring novelty, but similarity builds stability. It's less about finding your opposite, and more about finding someone whose differences complement, not clash with yours. As Burns' similarity attraction hypothesis puts it, we like people who validate our worldview. It feels safe, and safety fuels intimacy. That idea of opposites attract hangs around because it sounds romantic, like love is meant to be this electric clash of worlds. But in practice, constant differences can become exhausting. What feels thrilling at first, someone who challenges your norms or sees the world in a totally new way, can later turn into friction over daily habits, goals, or values. Similarity doesn't mean sameness, it means resonance. Two people can still surprise each other while sharing a common rhythm underneath. Compatibility is less about matching interests and more about emotional pacing. How you handle conflict, express care, and recover after misunderstandings. It's those shared emotional blueprints that make a relationship last. The excitement of contrast might start a spark, but understanding and shared ground keep the fire steady. So, if you've ever thought you're too alike to make it interesting, remember, compatibility doesn't kill chemistry, it sustains it. But what about the memories we'd rather forget? Myth number 5. Traumatic memories are always repressed and hidden. This one's sensitive and it deserves care. There's a long-standing belief. If a traumatic event happens, it gets buried deep, repressed, and later resurfaces. Popular culture loves this, and they often show people suddenly recovering forgotten trauma years later. But research is mixed. While it's true, some people may partially forget or avoid painful experiences, complete repression, where memories are buried and later perfectly recalled, isn't strongly supported by evidence. Trauma often does the opposite. It makes memories too vivid, recurring in flashbacks or intrusive thoughts, not blank gaps. Memory isn't a locked file. It's a reconstruction, influenced by time, emotion, and suggestion. And false memories can feel just as real as true ones. The idea of widespread repression in the sense of the event being inaccessible isn't well supported. Some memories get distorted, some details fade, but the notion that trauma is always locked away, waiting to be recovered, that's a myth. If you've experienced trauma, it's not about whether you remember right, but whether you have support to process what's here now. Healing doesn't depend on perfect recall. That doesn't mean trauma isn't serious. It absolutely is. But the mechanism of memory isn't as neat as repress and recover. Next, let's talk about another tricky topic, intelligence, and what actually measures it. Myth number 6. IQ is the sole measure of intelligence. The idea of multiple intelligences, linguistic, musical, spatial, interpersonal, etc., is popular. But the strong empirical support for them as fully distinct intelligences is weak. IQ tests measure certain cognitive abilities, reasoning, logic, memory, but intelligence isn't one-dimensional. Psychologist Howard Gardner proposed the idea of multiple intelligences. Modern psychology sees intelligence as a network of skills, emotional awareness, creativity, adaptability, not a single score. Continues to be one of the better supported predictors for various outcomes. This isn't to say IQ is everything or that tests are perfect. It's to say the myth that everyone has one intelligence they're good at, so formal IQ is meaningless needs nuance. If we lean too heavily on the multiple intelligence myth, we might underestimate structured cognitive skills or neglect evidence-based tools. So if you've ever struggled with tests or felt not smart enough, remember, IQ doesn't measure how kind, intuitive, or inventive you are. Your intelligence might just speak a different language. But what about the way we learn? Does everyone really have a learning style? Myth number 7, we learn better through our preferred learning style. You've probably heard it. Some people are visual learners, others auditor or kinesthetic. Teachers often design lessons around this idea, but research doesn't back it up. Studies show that matching teaching methods to a person's style doesn't improve learning. Instead, the most effective method depends on the material itself. Visuals work well for spatial content, hands-on for physical tasks, and so on. The concept of learning styles persists because it feels empowering. It gives us identity. But real learning is flexible. Brains are adaptable. We can grow in any direction with practice, curiosity, and time. So instead of labeling yourself, focus on engagement. That's what makes things stick. All right, now let's test another one, those gut decisions on exams. Myth number 8. Always trust your first instinct on multiple choice tests. Don't let this one mess with your score. It's one of those school myths that sound smart, but will surely backfire. Teachers, friends, maybe even you, we've all said it. Don't change your answer. Your first guess is usually right. Turns out, not necessarily. Studies show that when people review their answers, they're more likely to switch from wrong to right than the other way around. The myth sticks because when we change an answer and it goes wrong, we feel that regret more deeply. Trusting your intuition can help, but so does reflection. It's not never change your answer. It's think twice when you have reason to. Okay, but are you ready to clear up a darker and heavier myth? Myth number 9. People with psychological disorders are violent. This one does real harm. The vast majority of people with mental illness are not violent. In fact, they're more likely to be victims than perpetrators. Conditions like depression, anxiety, or schizophrenia don't inherently lead to aggression. What does increase risk is untreated distress, substance use, or lack of support, factors that affect everyone, not just those with diagnoses. And about the so-called depression gene, there isn't one single gene that causes depression. It's influenced by a mix of genetics, environment, and personal history. Reducing someone's complexity to a single gene or stereotype doesn't help anyone heal. Compassion does. It's appealing, but limiting and overly broad. It can keep us locked in stereotypes. This myth sticks because fear is simple, and people aren't. Media often feeds it. Headlines link mental illness and violence when the real connection is far weaker than public perception. Most violence isn't driven by psychiatric conditions. It's driven by social, economic, or situational stressors. When we label someone as dangerous just because they're struggling, we push them further from the very care that could keep everyone safer. Mental illness isn't a character flaw or a moral failing. It's part of the human spectrum, something that can be managed, treated, and lived with fully. And the depression gene idea is another oversimplification that sells certainty where there isn't any. Mental health lies at the crossroads of biology, trauma, upbringing, and current stress. No single thread explains the whole pattern. In the end, compassion, not fear, is what makes communities stronger and recovery possible. Myth number 10. Human memory is like a recording. If only it were that simple. Memory isn't a video you replay, it's a story you rebuild. Every recall is an act of reconstruction, influenced by current mood, context, and later information. That's why eyewitness testimonies can be unreliable. Not because people lie, but because memory reshapes itself each time it's recalled. Details blur, emotions color the scene, and what once felt certain can evolve. The same goes for our own past. As we change, so does the way we remember it. Each time we remember, we're also slightly rewriting. It's unsettling, isn't it, realizing that the moments we trust most might not have happened exactly as we remember. But that's how memory protects us. It isn't meant to be a perfect archive, it's more like an ongoing draft, updated every time we revisit a moment. When you recall something painful, for instance, your brain weaves in the wisdom or emotions you hold now. That's why an old memory can feel softer, or sometimes sharper over time. You're not remembering the event itself, you're remembering the last time you remembered it. False memories can even form from suggestion or repetition, showing just how fluid our inner timelines are. But this flexibility is what lets us grow. It's how healing happens, by reshaping old narratives into something we can live with. So instead of mourning lost accuracy, maybe it's worth appreciating the creativity of it. Memory is less about the past and more about who we're becoming. That's not a flaw, it's how the brain keeps us adaptable, integrating old lessons with new experiences. Your memory isn't betraying you, it's trying to keep your story up to date. So, what do we do with all this? Maybe just stay curious. Because psychology isn't about finding fixed truths, it's about understanding why we believe what we do. If this video helped you see something differently, you might like this next video.